She was always very polite, extremely so, to the point where us teachers begin to worry sometimes. Acknowledging contributions from others and expressing her gratitude for their help. Her leadership and execution in our order are already beyond what I would have expected, and Delphi is extremely lucky to have her. This student is Miss Sophia Solis.
All right, and now we're going to have Mrs. Lannon present the Capstone Award.
Hello everyone. I have the privilege of presenting this award. I'm going to call the student here first while I talk about him. The recipient of the capstone is Boston Lee. I've had the privilege of interacting with Boston this year frequently in both the roles of teacher and house dean. I'm lucky enough to have him in 2 classes this year, both AP Calculus and the Robotics Engineering. He has consistently demonstrated an exemplary sense of justice. He's capable of completing tasks quickly, finishing early in the period. He could use the remaining time to relax, to get head start on homework, to complete other activities in his self-interest, but he often chooses to take the time to help others. He will work with others in the room to explain a tricky concept in calculus or engineering. He's a team player. He's a strong communicator. He's willing to both explain and listen. He's also demonstrated fortitude on multiple occasions. I watched him show fortitude spending over an hour trying to just get one part off a servo motor. The screw was stuck, and he stuck to it and was able to listen to his teammates as well. Finally got that screw off, showed a great deal of fortitude. He has also demonstrated prudence by contributing his time and talents as the LCHS House Treasurer. The Treasurer does not have an easy job here. Boston dedicates many hours to his duties. Boston is helpful, but also he is firm in enforcing the procedures that keep our house system finances in good order, and that allows our entire student body, all of you, to enjoy many fun activities and events. Boston also demonstrates gratitude frequently by thanking his teachers and approaching new challenges with that attitude of gratefulness. So I'm so happy to give him this award. Thanks, Boston.
Okay, so instead of doing a game today, Ashley and I are just going to talk a little bit about what prudence means to us. And we always have really impressive people like we do today coming to talk to you about the capstones, but we just wanted to get personal and talk about it to you from a student perspective. So I wrote mine down so I wouldn't forget anything, so here it goes. Prudence sounds boring, it sounds like rules, and it sounds serious. And some people do associate these things with prudence. All of the virtues we strive for here at school are important and pretty clutch in your life. But despite some common misconceptions of prudence, I'm happy to be a part of the house that bears its name. Prudence can't be breaking the rules. I'm not saying you bump into some kid in the hallway and you just punch him in the face and then you're like, oh, I was prudent like Michael said, and then tell him to show up like that. So, but prudence can't be taking a risk. And I remember the first time I heard a story and thought it encompassed the idea of prudence. My sister Emily had told it to me. She said, in 8th grade, some kid spread peanut butter all over another kid's desk. The kid said, the teacher said, if whoever did this doesn't own up now, you all get detention. My friend Nash spoke out and said he did it. After class, I found out Nash wasn't even involved when it all happened. I remember thinking that this decision by Nash was not only selfless and brave, but also prudent. And then again, maybe selflessness and bravery are crucial parts of prudence itself. Prudence is not just about your abilities necessarily. It's about making choices for the good of others. For closure on the story, the kid who actually did spread the peanut butter all over the other kid's desk owned up afterwards. I think this shows how prudence is contagious. If just one person makes the decision to be selfless and good, it can inspire others. Prudence is seeing the beauty in things and acting in accordance with such beauty. In the story, Nash didn't expect to be recognized. He saw that it was beautiful for people to have free time after school and acted accordingly. Being prudent means having the humility not to seek recognition, but to live beautifully. Remember that the decisions you make don't only affect you, but can have a profound impact upon others. If you choose to be prudent one time, maybe your peers will follow you.
For me, I got prudence confused with temperance for a while. Both deal with finding what's right and good and making good choices. And that's true, but not necessarily what I think anymore. Our definition for prudence is discerning the true good surrounding every situation, while our definition for temperance is using intellect to restrain passions of ambition and pleasure. And so prudence isn't always about making the right choice or being correct. It's about finding the good in the situation you're in. Oftentimes these virtues overlap, but prudence goes beyond making the correct choice. It's seeing what choice will result in the most good for the most people. It's about choosing to look beyond the easy choice and taking the path that's more positive and leads you to a better outlook. A while ago, I was sitting with some people who were gossiping and making fun of someone, and I had a couple options as to what I could do, and I made the temperate choice. I didn't join in, but I didn't make the prudent choice and stand up for them, therefore benefiting the gossipers to stop gossiping and the person they were gossiping about, to stand up for them. And in a way, I feel like that's also like what Michael said, it takes courage to do, and because of that, I feel like prudence encompasses a lot of our virtues, and that's why I'm honored to be in DP, the house that celebrates prudence. Thanks.
Okay, so we have 4 crew members from the USS Colorado coming to speak to us today, and Captain Bill Emsley is going to introduce them.
Thank you, Michael. We are so honored to be here today to talk to you about not just the subject of prudence, but to give you real-life examples of that in the crew members that are here today from the USS Colorado. Think about this, prudence. You've heard a couple of definitions, but I have a definition as well. We all have a definition. Mine is doing the right thing at the right time, because timing is important as well as doing the right thing. Today, I think one of the right things to do is to give you an opportunity to hear from this crew. Consider this. The USS Colorado, a Virginia-class nuclear submarine, to be commissioned early next year. This will be the first time a ship from our great United States Navy has been named after the state of Colorado. The last time it was done was 1923. 1923. And that was the battleship Colorado that served honorably in World War II and was retired honorably in 1947. 70 years have gone by since then, and now we have the privilege of another ship named after our great state. I'd like to bring up 4 crew members from that submarine, USS Colorado, who are going to talk to you for a few minutes about their view of prudence and also what it's like to live life on the point of the spear as they are doing right now. So let's give them a big welcome, the crew of the USS Colorado.
Good morning, everybody. I guess it's afternoon now. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Petty Officer John Warren. I joined the Navy in 2012. I went through nuclear power school shortly after that to become a reactor operator. So my job on the submarine, as has been stated, is a nuclear-powered submarine. So there is a nuclear reactor on board every single one of our submarines, and it is my job to operate that reactor safely. 2 weeks ago, in preparation to get our boat, the submarine, the USS Colorado, out to sea, I started up that reactor, and then we took the boat out to sea. All right? So it's pretty awesome. In being a nuclear operator, prudence is extremely important for us. I have heard a couple of definitions, but foresight, knowing what you're going to do and knowing how it affects everything else is extremely important. Having that foresight can affect everything down the road. And on a submarine, it's a warship. a nuclear power warship. If I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, and know exactly how it's going to affect everybody around me, I have 135 of my shipmates that I could let down. And I don't want to do that. And that's what these fish on my chest mean, is that I know what I'm going to do. I think about it before I'm going to do it, and we do the right thing, at the right time, and we have each other's backs. So, I appreciate you guys coming out here, having me out here and my shipmates. I'm going to hand it off to Petty Officer Newton. He's going to explain a little bit about what he does. Again, I appreciate you having us out here.
So, like Petty Officer Warren said, I'm Petty Officer Newton. Some of you guys I walked through the hallways and saw you. Some of the teachers I also talked to as well. Thank you for having us as well. I'm Petty Officer Newton. I'm a machinist mate. Been in the Navy for about 3 years now. Throughout my life, I found myself not knowing what the next step was, right? Not having that foresight that we're all talking about. So what do you do when you don't have that foresight? You go look for it. You get curious. You find something. And looking in the right place, finding the right path is very, very, very important. Because once you go down the wrong path, getting on the right path is a lot harder than steering yourself in that right direction. On board submarines, we're really good at steering ourselves in the right directions blind. Because most of you may think we have windows, but we don't. We drive pretty blind. So knowing where you're going is step one. Step two, how you're going to get there. Your mode of transportation. Of course, ours is a submarine, but what's going to be your mode of transportation? And step three is, what are you going to do when you get there? What's the end result? What's the next step? Because after goal one is completed, what's the next achievement? What's the next achievable thing to do? So, me myself, I've progressed 5 ranks. So after I progressed the first one, what's the next step? The next rank, of course, so that's easy. But for you guys, college, some of you high school, some of you maybe are going to go off and do amazing things, presidential things, who knows? The sky is the limit, but you can't limit yourself. There are millions and millions of routes you can take, and you should never, ever shy away from anyone based on what anybody says you can or can't do. Because anyone is capable of doing anything. And I stand here as a testimony because I was told I wouldn't be able to do this. But I'm standing here very successful and doing it well. So I think having that foresight, and whether it's there or not, it will definitely come. It's not anything to worry about, but definitely you need to look in the right places and be cautious of where you get that knowledge, that intellect, the next move, the next step, that mode of transportation. That's very important. So definitely remember that. And without further ado, I'll introduce Petty Officer Sylvia right here.
All right, hello, I'm Petty Officer Sylvia. I joined the Navy in September 2014 at St. Johnsbury, Vermont. Before the Navy, I graduated high school in 2012. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Whether that was due to not thinking about it enough, I'm not sure. But I took the time after high school to look at different career opportunities, look at things that I may have not considered before. And while I was doing research, I found out I really love computers. So I'm now in the Navy as IT on board submarines. So I manage all the information systems, all the computers, and I couldn't be happier with my decision. I would not have guessed that in high school. I spent the entire time studying film and didn't go on to do that because I figured out it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I guess the most important lesson, and something everybody should take on board, is making sure that the decisions that you make are what's right for you, as well as you can also think about the people around you. But always consider maybe something that's been brought up is not what you want to do, and think about what you really want in that. On top of that, just continue striving, continue studying, You never know, you might find something that you never considered before, kind of like I did. And just keep studying. I'm going to pass it on to Lieutenant Matus now, who's officer on this trip. Here you go.
All right, who's excited to be here? That's our submarine. It's brand new. It's pretty awesome. Okay. This picture was taken only the second time that we ever took the submarine out to sea. And being part of the control party, correction, not the control party, being in control, which is where the officer on the deck drives the boat from, for the initial tightness dive to take this thing underwater for the very first time was incredibly stressful, but incredibly rewarding. I was communicating with another surface ship that we had that was surrounding us, making sure that when we went under, we would come back up. So it's pretty exciting. And I just want to clarify one thing here. PCU Colorado, we've been saying USS Colorado, we're still a pre-commissioned unit. But what we have to look forward to is commissioning this submarine into the Navy on St. Patrick's Day of next year. So that's very exciting for us. How many of you guys knew that you had a submarine named after your state? Yeah? Now everybody knows, right? It's super, super exciting. We're extremely, extremely proud to be part of your guys' history, and it means a lot to us, and that's why we're here. As we speak right now, this submarine is underwater, doing awesome things that we don't even know about. We just left the submarine last week to come here to talk to you guys, and we could not be more excited to be here. My job, I'm very fortunate to be an officer aboard the US PCU Colorado, we'll be the USS Colorado. It's difficult for me to kind of show you what Prudence looks like, but my job just embodies Prudence. My job as a supervisor for these guys, just so you know, this is the backbone of the military. This is what makes this submarine move through the water. So a round of applause to them. One of the biggest things that I kind of think about when I think of Prudence is foresight. Some of the stuff that these guys touched on already. Can anybody picture themselves driving this $2 billion warship up in that bridge like those guys are right there, my bosses, my friends that are up there? It's pretty incredible. It's also pretty nerve-wracking. You see these sailboats doing this and these sailboats doing that, merchant transit lanes doing this, boats coming across this way, that way. My mind is constantly racing as I think about what I need to do next. And if I don't have an idea of what I'm going to do next, I put the ship at risk. I can't have that happen. There are 135 members on board, and the captain entrusts us officers and the enlisted guys to make sure that this boat runs successfully. And I talked a little bit about I like to think of it as special. As an officer aboard a submarine, you get a year in engineering and a year on forward to drive the boat. So I talked a little bit about driving the boat up forward. I kind of jumped the gun. But my time right now is back in the engine room, making sure that Petty Officer Warren operates this nuclear reactor that he was telling you about correctly. And that's a big deal. We are extremely young and extremely fortunate and well-trained to handle this nuclear reactor. And just 2 weeks ago, like he was talking about starting up that reactor, I supervised, not that same startup, but just prior to leaving the boat, 1 week ago today, a reactor scram. Does anybody know what a reactor scram is? Means the reactor shut down. You knew that?
Unscheduled shutdown.
Yeah, unscheduled shutdown. That's bad. With the reactor scram, we can't move through the water. Okay? And so, just like being able to drive the boat and know what's going to come next on our navigator's route to try and avoid contacts and keep the ship safe. Back in the engine room, I got to make sure that we have propulsion at all times. So when that reactor scram happened, and I was the engineering officer of the watch, ensuring that these guys started up the reactor safely as quickly as possible, I needed to know every step of that procedure and everything that was going to come next, because any hiccup delays that time at which we can bring the reactor critical and move ourselves through the water. When the reactor scram, when the reactor shut down, we can't move and we're vulnerable. And that procedural compliance that we alluded to earlier is extremely, extremely important in what we do. It is everything that we do. Strict adherence to the procedure, and verifying that what we're doing is actually correct. So those are what Prudence means to me. Two aspects of the boat. Again, propulsion back aft, and actually driving the boat up forward. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. Oh, about me. So I'm from Yuma, Arizona originally, and I went to school at Fordham University in the Bronx, so New York City. Went from a really small town in Yuma, Arizona to New York City, and that was the best decision I ever made. As difficult as it was to leave home, it was awesome. And I was a neuroscience major, and I knew that as long as I studied science, math, or engineering, that I was going to be okay. I knew that because when I joined the Navy, they paid for my school, ROTC scholarship, and they would teach me everything I needed to know to become a successful submariner. So that's a little bit about me, driving the boat, supervising the reactor plant. And now I want to take a little bit of time to answer some of your guys' questions, because I know you have questions, and I want you guys to ask the honest questions, what you're thinking. Earlier this week, they asked us what we eat. It's a great question. We eat very well. It's very nice. So with that, just remember that we are extremely, extremely proud to be able to come here and talk to you guys and encourage you to continue with your dreams, and know that the unknown is not something to be scared of. The unknown is nothing but an opportunity for you to drive your own path, to become your own leader, and to really have the end in mind, even if you don't know what that end is. I did not intentionally want to go into the military, but it is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and for that I'm very thankful. So tell everybody, you have an awesome warship, a fully capable submarine named after your state, and we love what we do. So, questions? Yeah? The submarine? So the question is, when and where did the USS Colorado come out? So our boat is stationed in Groton, Connecticut. So we traveled all the way from Groton. We left the boat, like I said, the boat's underwater right now, doing great things. And we are stationed in Groton, Connecticut. We were just built. For the last 3 years, these guys can talk about how long they spent in the shipyard. I've only been on board 9 months, but they built it in Groton, Connecticut. It comes in pieces. It's really cool, kind of like Legos, and then they magically put it together, and before you know it, you have a submarine, and then you take it off into the water, and then you submerge it incrementally like we did on sea trials, and you listen for the noises, and you find the little leaks, you stop them, and then you go deeper, 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 until all of your testing is done, and then you have a fully functional submarine. So Groton, Connecticut, took it out first time 2 months ago, and we'll commission it to the Navy St. Patrick's Day of next year. If you have questions for these guys also, please ask. Yeah? How long does it take to build a submarine? I'll let these guys talk about it. They've been there a little longer than I have.
So I got to the Colorado when there was nothing. I got there in August of 2014, so 3 years ago, almost to the month, to the day. And then almost to the day, we took it out on the water for the first time. So over a 3-year period, I saw the coolest thing happen. You have parts, as was mentioned, of the engine room, of the forward compartment, slowly come in, and they put them together like Legos. And then they weld all the pieces together. And then we fill them up with water, or oil, or air, or whatever we're going to fill them up with. We test them, and then after we make sure that they work right, that's about a year into it, then we put it into the water for the first time. We don't take it out, but we put it into the water and make sure that it doesn't sink without us wanting it to, because it's summer. Yeah, after about a year more of testing, including testing of the reactor plant, which is my favorite part, then we take it out to sea for the first time. And as Lieutenant Matu said, the last 2 months of the build process, at the end of the 3 years, we go down just a little bit, and just a little bit more. And then we find leaks, and then we fill the leaks, and pray that they don't come back. And then we go down more, and see if they can come back. And hopefully they don't. Our boat, they did not come back. And we took it down as deep as it's supposed to go, and now we know that we can pretty much operate wherever we need to, wherever the country sends us. So 3 years, a long process, it's lots of fun. I've seen it built from the ground up, as well as petty officer. Who else? Raise your hand high. Go ahead, in pink.
How deep is it supposed to go?
excess of 800 feet. Other than that, it's classified. And before anyone else asks, it goes in excess of 28 knots. I cannot say any faster, it's classified. Yes? Ooh, that's a good question for Petty Officer Newton, who is one of the machinist mates on the boat.
That's a great question. She asked, how do we make oxygen, or how do we get oxygen on the boat? Well, I run a lot of atmosphere purification and generating equipment. So we have these things called scrubbers, which take the CO2. We also have this thing called the integrated low pressure electrolyzer. And to keep it strictly simple, because it's a very complex piece of equipment, we take water, we separate the molecules, hydrogen and oxygen, and we discharge the oxygen inboard. And we do other things with the hydrogen and make other things with it. So we always have oxygen. We also have this thing called burners, which we take out all the other atmosphere contaminants out of the air. So we're always breathing clean, fresh air. Does that answer your question?
So, what do the different things on your uniforms mean? Yeah.
So each one of these ribbons, they represent, so this red one, I don't know if you all can see that. This is good conduct, which means I've not gotten in trouble for at least 3 years. So stay out of trouble. These two right here is blue with white stripe and red with yellow stripe, are both kind of in the same field. One you get for being on board your command for greater than 90 days, global war on terrorism, and the other one is defense against terrorism. And the other two are just saying I'm qualified to shoot guns. But yeah.
What do you have to wear when you're on the boat?
We wear this thing called, well, you know what mechanics wear, the little jumpsuit? We wear something similar to that. We wear something called poopy suits. That's what we call it. Yeah.
It's so warm.
It's so warm. It's like pajamas. Anyone else? Right here.
So in training, what kind of psychological things they warn you of being out of your element that long? What do they expect? I mean, yeah, it's your new element.
Yeah. So if you're claustrophobic, you probably won't be as comfortable, but not. Second. Oh, so the question was what type of psychological things do they warn you of? So if you're claustrophobic, you probably wouldn't be as comfortable on submarines. It's a little tight. Other submarines are bigger, so you'd probably be a little bit more comfortable with that. Ours is pretty small. But nothing really. I mean, when you join the submarine service, you kind of have that, they definitely screen you for all those psychological things that might bother you or might make things a little bit uncomfortable. For the most part, I didn't have any issues. Did that answer your question? Yes, right here. How long is it? We are 377 feet long and approximately 35 feet from the bow. That's my numbers are correct. 34, okay. And right here. Oh, so how do we see, she asked, since we don't have windows, how do we see where we're going? And I think this is Betty our facility this time.
So we use a very interesting device called sonar, which there are two types of sonar. There's active sonar and there's passive sonar. Active sonar is like any movie you've ever seen. You send out the ping, and we wait for that noise to come back, and we can tell what's around us. That's not very conducive to a quiet submarine. Our main mission is to go undetected, so we use passive sonar. Passive sonar, we're just listening. We're taking in biologics. We're listening for maybe enemy submarines, maybe for surface contacts. We can just listen and taken every bit of information we need, enough for sonar to be the eyes of the submarine.
All right, so we had a question of what kind of protection do I need from radiation from the reactor? And does radiation leak everywhere? The answer is no. Radiation does not leak everywhere, otherwise I would not be standing here right now. I would be cooked or have a third eye. So, what we do is over a long time of testing, we have determined how we actually are able to safely operate a plant and keep what we refer to as the zoomies inside of the vessel. So all the neutrons that we use and are produced in the fission process to produce heat are actually reflected back by use of water, which is also used to cool the core, and by lots of things like lead and steel and poly and a bunch of little beads. Also oil is a very good reflector. Things like that. They're very good. Certain elements and certain things are very good at shielding. We have actually designed the boat in a way that we put the reactor in the middle of the boat and surrounded by all of this shielding, and then I, as an operator, can go and safely operate this reactor plant when it's critical or operating at power safely. I actually got more radiation flying from Groton, Connecticut to Colorado than I will get for the rest of my tour until 2020 operating the reactor plant critical, because of how safe and how much we shield our reactors. It's actually really cool, a lot of the science and physics that go into it. So we don't have to worry about radiation at all, effectively.
All right, we have 2 more questions. I grabbed them from up here. The first question is, does it get cold on the submarine? Yes. So cold, so cold. So we just recirculate the air that we talked about earlier and how we make that air. But we also have so much equipment that we need to keep cool, and we keep it cool using fluid, so some types of water to cool everything. So yes, it is extremely, extremely cold. I personally sleep in sweatpants and socks all the time because I'm freezing. But you'd rather be cold than hot, trust me. And then the other question was, what kind of ordnance do we have on board? What do we carry, right? Because at the end of the day, we are a fully capable warship. Okay? And sometimes we forget that. We talk about how comfortable the ride is, and how great and how smooth the Virginia class is. But at the end of the day, the USS Colorado is the world's most advanced, capable warship that there is out there. And while we may not be certified yet, as we continue through the build process in the new construction period, we will be certified to not only carry Tomahawks, which are sea-to-land or sea-to-air missiles that come directly from the bow of the ship, of the boat. And these 2 hatches that lift up and send Tomahawks, out for hundreds of miles. And then we also have the underwater torpedoes that I'm sure you guys know about and are extremely, extremely capable as well for both surface contacts, surface ships that sit on the water, as well as submerged contacts. So anyway, that wraps up our time here. We can stick around after and answer some of your guys' questions if you have more. We'd love to answer them. Once again, we're very, very, very excited for you guys to have us here, and we hope that we continue to feed off your energy as we come into the state of Colorado. It really does mean the world to us, so thank you.